5 IEMs I love a lot, but don't talk about them too often. Yeah, that's the topic of today. Guilty pleasure IEMs. Let's jump into it. Hey friends, Tim here back to another video on Giz Audio. Today I have 5 IEMs that I love to listen to, and I bring them out every now and then to switch off from my regular IEMs I use every day. But for one reason or the other, I don't recommend them often to you guys or to anyone. And we'll get into those reasons as I talk about each IEM. Alright, so the first IEM is the HC Sound Heart Mirror, somewhat of a hidden gem in the community, if you will, not in the community, in the audio world, because community people know and love this IEM. It is a single dynamic driver IEM that is tuned surprisingly well while being probably one of the cheapest one that I would recommend personally. Now, I love this thing for its vocal performance, the upper mid-range, the treble area. There's quite a lot of it, but it's not ever coming across like too much or too sibilancy. It's rather smooth sounding and musical sounding, which I really love. Now, the reason I don't recommend these too often is because I actually don't know why. I don't recommend these more often. I guess it's mainly due to the level of details that these have. These are not the most technical set out there. Now, you would think that a lot of the treble that it has would reveal some micro nuances, add some extra details, which it does to a certain extent, but the overall feeling of the soundstage, the imaging, everything is just a bit more mushy, I guess. It's not very dynamic and it's not very well separated. It's just on the cheaper end when it comes to resolution, and that's why I don't recommend this too often. But in terms of tuning, it is a wonderful IEM. That's why even till today, I still grab it out every now and then for like, you know, a few songs or so. Now, the one big comparison I get asked about in regards to the heart mirror is with the Ola. How does it compare with Tan's Gym Ola? For me, the Ola has more details, just clearly more details out the gate. The Ola also has good treble as well, a little bit more tame than on the heart mirror. I guess you can say the Ola has a bit more of a neutral style treble, while the heart mirror is an elevated treble. So it's a little bit of a slight difference in tuning there, but in level of details, the Ola just flat out wins. And for $40, the Ola is just the better choice for me. But if you want that extra bit of energy, then the heart mirror is a really fun and beautiful one to listen to. Just keep in mind, you're not gonna get a lot of details from it. Still great though. The next IEM is the Edomotic ER2 SE. Now, this should be fairly obvious why I don't talk about them too often. It's because of the fit. I don't personally use these that often because of the fit issues myself. It is intrusive. It's not painful, but it's kind of scary and uncomfortable in a way to listen to these. You really need to get used to them to be okay with them being in your ears. But for me though, they are the best sounding. Again, the best sounding IEM under $200. I would even push as far to say under $300, but the 7Hz Timeless kind of lives there, so I can't say under $300. But if the 7Hz Timeless wasn't there, I can say definitively that this is the best you can grab under $300. It is that fantastic. The level of details is great. The tuning is spectacular. Everything comes across very natural. The vocals are very forward, lively. The treble is beautifully done. There's no sibilances, no fatigues, while still delivering a natural feeling, sparkly treble. It is so good. And if you want extra bass, of course, you can go for the XR version. For me though, the SE is the way to go. I love my vocals to be the cleanest possible. So yes, the SE is for me. But again, the fit itself might be an issue for some of you guys out there. So I urge you to try them out somewhere. If you can find somewhere to audition these, try them out first. If not, you know, you can always just blind buy it and then return it. You know, Amazon has really good return policies, so you can do that. But yeah, these are high recommendations from me always. If anyone ever asks me about these, always high recommendation. Just the fit. The fit. Next IEM, we have the Drop X JVC FDX1. Yeah, that's the name. Stop naming stuff like that. Despite the hard to remember name, this IEM is very special to me because it is one of those IEM that sounds quite unique. I don't own any IEMs or have heard any IEMs that sounds like this or sound even slightly similar to this, to be honest. It is quite energetically forward, meaning that the upper mids and the treble is very forward, but they're forward in its own way, like it's elevated in a different region than other IEMs, and it sounds unique. It sounds energetic, it's lively, it's fun. It's not natural for sure, but it sounds good to me. I like the way this sounds. But again, like I said earlier, the unnaturalness of it all makes me not recommend these to too many people because it is a sound that is gonna be quite divisive, I would say. A lot of people would not enjoy the amount of treble or the amount of energy that you get here, especially how it's implemented in this IEM. But for me, for some reason, I enjoyed the heck out of these. But yeah, I don't recommend them often because they're not very natural sounding. And I was afraid that if I recommend these, I'll let you guys go out and buy them, listen to them. You guys are like, oh, what is this, Timmy? In terms of details and resolution, these are actually very good. For the price of, I think, $280, this is one of the most technical set you can get under $300. So it has that for it as well as a big win. Other thing to talk about these, I guess, now that I finally have time to talk about them, is that, you know, they're very well constructed. Just super heavy, not too heavy to be uncomfortable, but super solid, very premium builds. And the sound, again, for me, it is unique and fantastic to my ears. I love this thing. If you guys get a chance to try these out, I urge you, go try them out. You might like it like I do, especially if you love vocals, you love energetic vocals, forward and lively in the treble, then this might just be up your alley. But it also might not be. So there you go, the FDX one. Next is the Canara None 2. Now this really takes me back. This is the first ever pair of IEMs for me that is expensive. My first ever expensive Chi-Fi set, if you will, and it's the one that got me kind of hooked onto IEM. If you guys did not know, I was a headphone guy before, hence the HD 800S. I also owned the Full Cow Clear. I owned the Sundara. I owned the Bayer Dynamic DT990 Pro, I own the HD 600, and I've also owned once a Greater. But yes, back to IEMs, this got me hooked into the IEM market. Bass on here is really well done. The treble as well. The mid-range on this though is not the best. It is a V-shaped mid-range and it feels like a V-shape, meaning that vocals are very kind of sucked back almost. But you know, if you love buttery, smooth bass, I recommend this one, of course. And the treble is again nicely done and smooth as well. The only reason I don't talk about this one too much is because of the price. It is very expensive, and for me, doesn't really compete well with everything else on the market at all, because for $800-900 you can get end game level IEM. So that's why personally I don't talk about the NANNA 2 too often, but it will always have a special place in my collection, being that it is the first ever expensive set that I own and that I've tried. So yes, None 2, I still grab it and listen to it every now and then to kind of like refresh my memory of, you know, my first foray into the IEM world. But yeah, None 2, love it, just pricey. Now last but not least, we have the unique melody Mest #1. The original Mest, not Mest 2, not the Mix, the original Mest. Now for me, I really love the Mest 1 a little bit more than the Mest 2 even. Now arguably the Mest 2 is the better IEM, it's better balanced, it has similar details, but overall on paper and the style of tuning that the Mest 2 has is better than the Mest 1, but for me, the Mest 1 has all the wow factors and the Mest 2 just doesn't have any wow factors. And it's so sad that the Mest 1 is now discontinued. You can't find this anymore. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I haven't talked about it, is because you can't find them. #2 reason that I haven't talked about these, even when you could have found them, was the treble. And that also is the wow factor of these IEM. The treble area, it is so forward. It lets itself be known. It's almost aggressive, like hitting you in the face. It's so analytical feeling. You get a lot of micro details from this thing, and for me, that's where the wow factor is. The addictiveness of the treble and the details that comes forward at you with the Mest 1 is unrivaled at the price. The next step up from this would be the Anole VX in terms of how much details and the forwardness of the treble micro nuances, if you will. But yeah, the Mest 1 really got me hooked onto those elements of the song. I became a detail lover, a treble lover, especially because of the Mest 1. It's just a wonderfully beautiful sounding IEM, extremely analytical, very well detailed, just love everything about the Mest 1. And now it's gone. Kind of sad. Sad day for the IEM world. Alright, that is it for this video today. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's a bit of a personal video, but hopefully you guys watched all the way till the end. And if you guys did, I would love to know some of your own guilty pleasures down in the description below if you guys have some to share. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Bye.